This is WFO Radio.
Hey, everybody. WFO. It's NHRA race week. We are back. We're headed to New England, the TascaParts.com New England Nationals, presented by Bandero Premium Tequila. A lot of words in that sponsor name, but I'm loving it because Bob Tasca and Alexis DeJoria teaming up to sponsor this event up there in New England. I'll be flying into Beantown later on this week. On this show, Alan Reinhart. Going to be previewing the event. It's going to be great. So if you're an NHRA drag racing fan, you like cars, you could care less, share the show. That's right. Let's get it out there for all the NHRA fans to get hyped up about another week of Camping World Series drag racing and all the great stuff that happened down in Houston. We're going to go at it again. And then another week off or so. Then we'll be headed to Norwalk and then the Western Swing. And oh my goodness, like every weekend we'll be racing after that. We got Reinhart just a couple of minutes away. I want to do a couple of things before we get to Alan, one of which is thanking our sponsors. As you know, if you've been listening to the show on the podcast for over 10 years, that we have people that support the program so that we can chase around racers all day. And we really appreciate them. So when you need one of these things, use these folks. Like if you're looking for a great experience, something fun to do, Frank Hawley's drag racing school. How about Robert Height last week, like breaking into the interview, talking about Frank Hawley as one of the great teachers out there. Appreciate that. FrankHawley.com, the dragster adventure. A regular person can drive a dragster and even set up a race amongst their friends or their team or their bachelor party or crew of guys or girls or whatever. It's really a cool deal. FrankHawley.com and samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Just keeping the trend of WFO guests, talking about our sponsors. Bobby Graham was on the Ignition Show last night, machinist in his own right, talking about how many machinist jobs there are available where he lives down in Louisiana and how they're like signs everywhere. Machinists needed, machinists wanted. Of course they are. With all the work that's happening, getting ready to happen, like 9 million jobs available right now. Wouldn't it be great if you could get one of those super high paying jobs? Well, machining, Sam Tech, that's what they're all about, right? Block, head, CNC programs, motorsport EFI tuning. They're approved to train veterans under the GI Bill. Give them a call. Check out the website. Tell them you heard it on WFO. Also, Total Seal Piston Rings, the leader in ring seal technology. We had Hartford on after his big Houston win. Most recent Pro Stock winner going into New England. And very excited that Matt Hartford had his 2-year anniversary as the CEO after the big Total Seal acquisition, which is super cool and all the great things that they're doing for the employees and the team over there. But really, and us, right? Think about that. Total Seal coming on board with WFO Radio. We're creating the Hidden Horsepower podcast. We've got a new episode we're going to be recording later on today, talking about diesel engines, something I know very little about. And so it's going to be fun and interesting to learn about that. Cass Choate is the guest. You'll be notified when that comes out to the airwaves. In the meantime, go to TotalSeal.com. And if you need piston rings, if you're building an engine for a stock eliminator car, say, you want to hit them up first thing. And finally, Marvin Rodak, Rodak'sCoffeeandGrills.com. I was shouting out yesterday about how I need a new coffee maker. And I am taking recommendations from the WFO universe. I am not getting ready to drop $1,500 on a coffee maker. That is not going to happen. I want a good, budget-minded, but quality device. And your opinions are welcomed on social media and at my email, joe@wforadio.com. But then again, I'm just going to cross-reference whatever you say with Marvin, who knows coffee better than anyone. Coffee and hot sauce and spice rub and grilling, and Steve Brenwald posting pictures of ribs up there from the weekend. It was amazing. Everybody grilling out, enjoying a little racing this past weekend on the television. Not quite as good as in person, but next time you want to try something new, give Marvin a call. 817-924-6821. That's Rodak'sCoffeeandGrills.com. Later on, I'll tell you about the WFO store, how you can get one of these cool WFO polos and more, face coverings, etc. But let's bring on the voice of the NHRA, Mr. Alan Reinhart, find out what he's got going on. What's up, AR? How are you?
Oh, I'm okay, hanging in there. Do they still make Mr. Coffee? Is that a thing?
I think they do. I think they make Mr. Coffee and Mr. Can Opener and all of those things. Sanka is still a thing, Alan.
I just remember, I'm not a coffee drinker, so But I remember, like, Mr. Coffee, you said you're looking for a decent budget-minded coffee machine. I just figured that sounds like Mr. Coffee.
I feel like Mr. Coffee. Is it wrong? But I feel like Mr. Coffee is below me. I don't know. Maybe that's a terrible thing. Maybe I'm a snooty guy. I'm not as good as those $1,200 Williams Sonoma incredible machines. That's definitely not my speed. But I don't know. I feel like I don't know. Maybe I should investigate Mr. Coffee. I should throw away all my preconceived notions, and I'm going to investigate a Mr. Coffee right after the show.
Well, it's a machine that warms up water and pours it over coffee grounds, right?
Yes, that's exactly correct.
I mean,
apparently, there's something to it.
It doesn't sound like a CNC block honer. I mean, it's like there's two things. It warms up water and pours it over coffee grounds.
And yet you talk to the coffee people, they would tell you that there's a lot to it. And there's a lot of machines out there. You just walk through the local Target or Walmart or whatever. There's like 50,000 of them. Are they all the same? The pressure? I got to have a conversation with Marvin. That's it. We got to get to the bottom of this. But Mr. Coffee is on the list, Reinhart. Reinhart's selection, Mr. Coffee.
I'm not a coffee guy, but I don't know. It doesn't seem like making coffee requires a $1,200 piece of equipment.
Well, I agree. I've only had coffee out of those very expensive machines at like fancy restaurants, and Marvin's got one. Yeah, it was. It was. It was totally better. Why? Is it in my mind? Maybe. Why aren't you a coffee guy? What's up with that?
I don't know. I never have been a coffee guy.
But you like caffeine, though, right? You like caffeine.
Yeah, but I always if I was going to be driving all night, or if I was working all night, or if I was doing something like that, I'd have a cup of coffee, and it would really keep me going. And I think it's partially because I didn't have any tolerance. If you don't drink any coffee, it's like if you never have a drink, man, a couple of beers and you're going la 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 la. But if you've built up a tolerance, then a couple of beers is just kind of getting your elbow loose. So I felt the same way with coffee. I never drank coffee unless I really needed it. And then, I would drink coffee and it would keep me up. It did what it was supposed to do. And so that's all I used it for.
Well, it's funny. I never drank coffee either. My parents would drink coffee, maybe an espresso, like back in the day after dinner or something. But, something happened in my life that made me all of a sudden interested in coffee. And it was turning 40 when I just needed a little extra kick. And boy, it has worked great for me in the 40s. And Marvin Rodak, let me tell you, he got me interested in this next level gourmet stuff, and I'm really enjoying it. It's from all around the world. The flavors are a little different. The experience is a little different. But hey, maybe we'll make you a cup of coffee somewhere down the road and watch your head explode.
Sure, why not?
Yeah, I love your answer. Good answer, Reinhart. Like the answer, should we make your head explode? He's like, let's do it. All right, speaking of things exploding, before we get to our preview of the New England Nationals, I wanted to bring you in on something that to me is super cool. The rumors of my local track, Palm Beach International Raceway, going away in West Palm Beach, Florida, have accelerated now. I was kind of like gently touching it on the show and the rumor too. And now it's kind of blown up in our local community. So I feel comfortable talking about it. And it's a kind of a terrible situation. The details are still totally unknown. But what it has awakened in me, not that it needed to be awakened, but it's a reminder how important local drag strips are to their communities. And so I want to do something, whatever I can, to be helpful in that area. And maybe it might be too late for my local track. It's not so much that they do things like this, but over the past weekend, there was a huge event, the ATCO Dragway Night of Fire, like a local drag show, right? Like a drag race show. And we had some people there that you and I both know. And I just wanted to show some photos and just talk about what a significant thing it is for the community that has a drag strip to have events like this. First of all, who was there? Gary Pritchett running Bunny Burkett's Alcohol Funny Car, and Joe Morrison, who will be running this weekend as well, driving the Screaming Eagle, 2 Alcohol Funny Cars going down the track. In addition to Moats, this other one, which I don't know I don't know which one that is, but you had Gary making some runs, all these photos, Bob Zelag, who helps out, who's actually shot for National Dragster and NHRA. But what an awesome event for local drag racing fans in the Northeast. There's Gary and Joe. Like, think about all the people that are being touched by this event and experiencing what we love, just not quite at the national event level. But that can get them excited. Who knows? Maybe some will go to New England this weekend. And look at that crowd, Alan. Like, they had a packed house for a Saturday night show. Is the kickoff of summer. That's what I remember at Miami Hollywood. It's not really been the thing over the past 10 years in Palm Beach, but somewhere throughout the country, there's a show like that. And so I'm going to ask our listeners to send me some emails and contacts and photos over the upcoming things that happen over the summer in your local community to joe@wforadio.com. And we're going to try to shine a spotlight on that kind of event. Because to me, without those events at those tracks, we might not have our thing.
No, I'm with you. I think that's great. Years ago, that used to be how funny car drivers made their living, by barnstorming and running here and there. And, any Wednesday night or Friday night or Saturday night. And any place that they could get booked in because it was affordable to do so for the racetrack. Well, at this point, the cost of running the nitro cars has just gotten, it's next to impossible for a racetrack to book them in and be able to make it work. But with alcohol cars, you could do it. With jet cars, you could do it. And, I noticed you didn't mention any numbers. I think a lot of times, Charlie Allen at formerly Firebird Raceway, now Wild Horse Fast, used to do a couple of those shows a year, where he'd bring in jets or he'd bring in alcohol cars or pro mods or something. And the whole objective was, it ain't about who goes fast. It's about who does the biggest burnout. It's about, making noise and dry hops and whatever you want to do to get the crowd excited about the stuff, to put on a show. You're not putting on a race, you're putting on a show. And people would come out to see that. And a lot of those people would certainly come back, when the Nationals were in town or when there was another event in town. But I'm all for it. I think it's great that, they had Joe and Gary out there. I would be willing to wager that their instruction was, A, make sure you go down the racetrack, right? You ain't getting paid more to win. But if you shake and shut off at 100 feet, you haven't done anything. And the other one would be, do a big burnout, right? Back up at 80 miles an hour. Do something to make the crowd get excited and do it. And, you can put on a heck of a show like that. I don't think there's any question that people want to come out and see something exciting. When they come to the Camping World Series, you want to come see somebody run 335 miles an hour? Absolutely. But when it's Saturday night, your local track, you're just out, and, years ago, Tucson Dragway out here, they used to do a deal where, like beer was cheap. It was 10-cent beer or something like that. They would come out, everybody in the place had a beer in their hand and was, yelling and screaming for big burnouts. It wasn't about what numbers come up on the scoreboard. Of course, Tucson Dragway didn't have scoreboards, the old one. But it's just about, people putting on a show. Nobody has ever said, Vern Moats has got the fastest jet truck ever. Everybody says, have you ever seen the show he puts on? I mean, the thing is just, it's an amazing spectacle. And I think you could do a lot with that. I think, Gary is a good outgoing guy. Joe Morrison certainly is going to be, mixing it up with the fans and doing stuff. But I think that's a great idea. And hopefully more tracks will take a look at that and think, maybe we don't need, John Force or Cruz Pedregon booked in here to sell some tickets and have some fun. Maybe we just need a couple of guys that are willing to talk a little smack and do 8-mile burnouts. That'll put on a heck of a show.
Absolutely. And the Joe's best run was 6:28 at 2:29. So
who cares?
Right. The fans in the stands, they don't care. First of all, this shot by Z-Lag is incredible. Way to go, Bob Z. Fireworks in the background. And Gary, Bunny passed away, I guess, a year ago. And Gary was like so connected. She was his pathway to drag racing. And for him to go out there and race her car, awesome. And I'm going to talk to Steve Torrance about that tomorrow. We're doing a social media takeover, 2 p.m. Eastern time, everybody. Steve Torrance on his fan page and, of course, all WFO channels. So be here ready with questions for Steve. But just to me, that's our roots. And we need to get everybody pulling in the same direction. And ATCO, there's rumors circulating about that track also. I think there's rumors circulating about a lot of tracks right now. We need to save our tracks. We need to do something because what can we do though, right? But at least get everybody.
You can support them.
Yeah.
What you can do is you can support them. It's as simple as that. And all I know is what I've seen on the internet about West Palm. And so what? there's a rumor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if you remember, it was what, 3 or 4 months ago that somebody had an artist rendering of a master plan community built right on top of Wild Horse.
Yes.
And everybody went, okay, that's it. Racetrack's done. No, it's not. Somebody made a proposal. Maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. You know, we lost Englishtown now, what, 4 years ago?
Yes.
I have been going there since 1992. And since 1992, people have been talking about this is it, right? The family's selling out. They're getting run over by the neighbors. Well, it took 30 years to happen. You know, is West Palm going to be there for the next 150 years? I doubt it. Is it going to be gone tomorrow? I doubt it. You know, just because there's a proposal, just means people are talking about it. People are looking at options. You know, and as we talked about, you know, when the whole thing was going on up at Phoenix, how many proposals did you see for the new football stadium that they finally built in LA?
Yeah.
And how many of those people were like,
right.
oh, well, they're going to mow down the mall. They're going to take over this. No, they're not. They're looking at options. They decided to go with a different option. So, you know, a proposal is just exactly that. You know, I could make a proposal to, you know, buy NHRA for $10.
I mean,
doesn't mean it's going to happen.
Right. Well, nothing is there's no evidence right now. So it's all hearsay. And that's why I keep saying it. And we don't always traffic in rumors, but this one, you know, I'm hearing it. It's now on Nitrometer. It's in a couple of places. Now, that doesn't make it truthful at all, but it's definitely worth listening and asking some questions and maybe trying to get to the truth. What's the timeline? Is it a 10-year plan like you mentioned with Firebird, Wild Horse Pass, right? Oh, yeah, that thing was for 10 years out. Okay. And as you said, nothing that exists right now is necessarily going to be what it is right now 10 or 20 years from now. We have to plan ahead. There will be new tracks. There'll be different tracks. There'll be different facilities. There'll be different places. But we have to have tracks for whatever it is that we're racing at the time. And we just, I don't know, I think this time with the real estate being through the roof, and I understand people want to make money also. Like, that's part of it. Like, you own some land that you bought for X and now it's worth X times 150. That's a tough call. But as drag racers and racers together and people who make our livings in the sport, I just want to make sure that we all got our eye on the ball on this, because it's part of it.
But the good thing and the bad thing about the internet is instant communication, right? So let's say, Joe, you own Castello Dragstrip.
Yes.
I want to build a mall. So I call, hey, Joe, let's go have lunch. So we go have lunch, and I go, hey, look, I'm looking at some stuff. I'm wondering, you know, would you consider selling your property? You know, what would you need out of it? What would you know, maybe this is 6 weeks down the road, maybe it's 5 years down the road, but we're having lunch and we're talking about it.
Sure.
So you go back to your office, and your vice president says, so what did Reinhart want? Well, you know, he's looking about building a mall. He was talking about, you know, maybe buying a racetrack. You didn't sell it, did? No, we had lunch and we talked about it. So now he goes home and, you know, has a beer with one of his buddies. Oh, Castello. That guy goes on the internet and goes, that's it, the racetrack's gone.
So,
and everybody jumps on board. And all that happened was we had lunch.
yes.
By the way, you owe me lunch, and I picked up the check that time. And you didn't sell me the racetrack, so you owe me 2 lunches.
Oh my gosh, man. This guy is fleecing me in a business deal that's not actually really happening. But no,
that's what happened.
Yes.
You know, it's like it gets out there. And then how many times it's like some silly rumor and like 5 people go, yeah, I heard the same thing. So now they've all convinced themselves that it's true. You know, that my all-time favorite was when Dick LaHaye was going to leave the Snake and go to work for Coletta. This was at Brainerd a million years ago. And Scott, Connie was bringing out a second car. Scott had been driving, and Connie was going to bring out a second car. And we all know that, you know, Scott and Dick had, you know, a lot of success when they were together. And then, you know, when Scott took his vacation, Dick went over and started working for Snake. Well, they're coming back. So I went over and I walked into the Miller Lite pit at the time, and I told LaHaye, I said, hey, look, I said, I just want you to know where this came from. I said, I'm going to start a rumor. And he said, what? I said, I'm going to tell everybody that you're leaving here and you're going to go back to work because we're going to debut in Indy, which was the race after Brainerd. I said, you're going back to work for Coletta's, and, you know, Connie just made you an offer you couldn't refuse. He went, nobody will believe that. He goes, that's stupid. He goes, we're leading the championship. Nobody will ever believe that. He said, Dick, everybody will believe it. I said, I just want you to know where it's coming from. And I said, you know, we'll tell Snake. And so, you know, I'm not trying to stir up anything here. I'm just having fun. And he's like, nobody will. He goes, that's ridiculous. So while we're sitting there talking, Bill Stevens, who at the time was on the ESPN broadcast, comes walking into the pit area. And Dick and I are standing there on opposite sides of the tractor or the dragster, and we're having our little conversation. And Dick says, "Hey, Bill," he goes, "I'm glad you stopped by." He goes, "I wanted to talk to you this weekend." He goes, "I wanted you to, be the first one to know this is my last race with these guys." And he said, "What?" And Dick said, "Yeah." He said, "I'm going to go to work for Connie and run that second car for him." And Bill said, "I heard it was Tobler." And I said, "Well, yeah, he was talking to Ron, but he said, he came over and but why would you, you're leading the championship?" He goes, "Well, he just made me an offer I can't refuse. I mean, Connie's got a lot of money, and he just came over and he said, I don't know what we're going to do." Wow, I really appreciate you giving me the heads up on this. And Dick looked at me and he goes, "I guess you're right. People will believe anything." And Bill Stevens didn't talk to me for 2 years. He was so fucking mad. I'm so mad.
This is the greatest moment in WFO history right there. Bang, bang. Who owes who lunch now, Reinhart?
Okay, I'll buy you lunch. But I mean, it was hilarious. He literally didn't talk to me for 2 years because he was mad at me because I set him up for this deal. Now, by the time I left the racetrack that day, somebody flagged me down from Worship's pit when I'm driving down, between the haulers and on the way out. "Hey, Reinhart, you'll know. Is it true that LaHaye's leaving?" He said, "No." He said, "Did you hear the rumor that LaHaye's leaving?" I said, "Hear it? I started it." I said, "It's my rumor."
That's awesome.
And they said, "Well, everybody's talking about it." I said, "It's a joke. No, we're pretty sure it's going to happen." I'm going, "I'm pretty sure it's not."
Oh my God.
And I don't know. Were you there? Were you there when I drive Jim Head's funny car?
No.
Yeah, did that. That was in. I think it was in Gainesville.
Look at you with the fake news.
No, it used to, before the internet, it was a ton of fun. And it's, you could stir people up and who cares, right? It didn't go around the world. It went around the pit area. It was fun.
Right.
But no, we were in Gainesville one year and Caps had hit the blocks on Friday night. Jim Head had kind of let it be known that if somebody wanted to come drive his car, that he was willing to talk to them. So I went over and I told him, I said, "Hey, look," I said, "just so you know," I said, "I'm going to start the rumor that I'm going to drive your car." And he said, "I don't care." And I said, "Well, just don't quench it, okay? I mean, I'm just." And he goes, "Yeah, I don't care, whatever." So Caps makes his run on Saturday morning after he had hit the blocks on Friday night. And he gets out of the car and I'm doing the top end stuff. And I said, "Hey, Ron," I said, "here's the deal." I said, "I'm stirring up a rumor, okay?" I said, "I'm going to ask you about last night. And what I want you to do is just kind of casually mention that, after I've made a couple of laps, I'll understand." And he went, "Okay." So it's like, "Hey, Ron, but let's talk about last night. Boy, that car was really fighting." "Well, these things, sometimes these things just don't do it." He goes, "After you made a couple of runs in Jim's car, you'll understand. But, you got to get this." And he goes, right. And half an hour later, it was like, it was done. I mean, everybody was convinced. It went so far that John Asher, did a deep dive into it. And then, 2 weeks later, wrote a story on Comp Plus that said, "It's a joke." I said, "John, I could have told you that if you called me in the first place." But but the problem is now, instead of something like that being a joke among 100 friends, it goes worldwide and everybody files on and everybody convinces themselves that, what they heard is right.
And what you just heard from Alan Reinhart, not that we ever go into anything bigger than drag racing on this show, but it applies to everything, whether it be international occurrences, all of that, people, boy, man, especially if they want it to be true, right? Like, man, that Reinhart driving that car would be pretty cool. The announcer, it makes sense. That would be pretty cool. You want it to be true and you push something along that maybe is not true. Well, to the point of rumors about Palm Beach, let's hope. And if someone is out there watching that has the real story, you can feel free to contact me behind the scenes. The real story, not a Reinhart version of this story, the real story. And everybody is out there loving what just happened on the show, Reinhart. I'm not going to make a big deal over it, but they are loving it. They're saying it's so much fun. They're clutching their pearls, but they're doing it in a sarcastic way. So that's kind of cool. All right, let's talk New England Nationals. Yes, one more.
Okay, just one last my little rumor thing is that I went to Mike Dunn one time when he was the analyst, and I said, "Look, I just want you to know." I said, "I just want you to know where this is coming from, okay? Because Mike and I always got along. We always had a good relationship. We always, busted each other's chops and stuff." But I told him, I said, "I just want you to know where this is coming from." And when I think it was during the whole Jim Head thing, somebody asked me, "You really?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I'm sick and tired of guys that are medium drivers taking all the TV jobs. I think it's time for guys, a medium announcer, to take one of the driving jobs." I'm talking about Mike Dunn. I said, "I'm not mentioning any names." but it was funny. I mean, and so, like I said, I went and told Mike, if you hear this, I just want you to understand it's a joke. And he was fine with it. But
well, the manipulation of people, Alan, it's it can be fun. It can it can be fun, and also very dangerous if you're outside of drag racing. But I appreciate it. And I've already heard in my short tenure, and you told me early on, and which my short tenure is coming up on 10 years at some point, I think next year. But don't believe everything. It was like, you're going to hear a lot of stuff. People are going to tell you stuff that you told me that. Now I know why, right? Because you were doing it to people. It's just seeing where it would go. And you know what that is? That can be fun. The rumor mill, right? Talking about rumors, talking about what might happen.
Yeah. And for me, it was never anything more than fun, right? I wasn't trying to upset anybody. I wasn't trying to get anybody fired. I was just having fun. And I think, that's, as long as you keep it at that level, I don't think there's any problem with it. I love a good rivalry. I love, when drivers are willing to talk smack. I don't care how good the friends are. Just like, give me something to talk about. Give me something that turns into a news story. Give me something interesting. And, sometimes you got to make that stuff up.
So on that note, last week on the show, Robert Hite talked about Bob Tasca and called out Tasca by name in that, I really get fired up to run Bob Tasca. And it was great. And then I said, okay, why? And then he backed off and he said, well, he's the points leader. And it was like, all right, well, yeah, of course you always want to beat the points leader, but you called out Tasca by name, Robert, and I could sense that there was more to the story, right? And he didn't elaborate, but we all know that there are layers that maybe drivers don't, pick at a scab or bring up something, but there are race wins that mean more than others. And I could tell with Robert Hite that was one. And he was excited. Like, he felt they had found their, issues, and they're going after Tasca. And he said, quote, "It would be great to beat Bob Tasca at his home track in his home race." And I was like, yeah, that's the type of stuff that you should be saying to make it fun for us.
Absolutely. I mean, whatever is between them is between them. If they want to make it public, that's fine. But, you don't have to go too far back into history, and you realize that, Zippy, who's working on, and John Schaefer both came from Force. You remember they once had the relationship with Ford that Tasca was instrumental in, or the Tasca family was instrumental in, that is no longer there. I mean, there's plenty of reasons for me to want to go after that guy. And it doesn't have to be personal. It's just, it's business. He is the point leader. Yes. He's our brand rival now. Yes. We used to be teammates, and now I want to kick his tail. I'm good with all of that. So, just keep bringing it. Make it mean something. What I said at the banquet a couple of years ago, the Greg and Erica thing, when that all blew up in Pomona, like, everybody watching that show was rooting for somebody. And that's a good thing. I don't care if you're rooting for Greg. I don't care if you're rooting for Erica. But if you care about who wins the race, that's important. I don't care if you're a Bob Tasca fan. I don't care if you're a Robert Hite fan. But if those two come head to head and you care, that's important. And, that's what the show was. That's what the sport was built on. I used to talk to people years ago. It's like, when Dean Scusa and Del Worsham raced, how many casual fans had a real vested interest in that? Right? I mean, they're both young guys. They're both nice guys. They're both family guys. There's nothing to hate or love about either one of them. You either want to see a good race or you want to see them both smoke the tires. But is it really going to make or break your day?
No.
Who wins?
Right.
But when John Force pulled up in one lane and Al Hoffman pulled up in the other, every soul in the place was pulling for their guy and wanting to see somebody get their butt kicked. That's good. I don't care what side you're on. I just want you to care about the outcome of the event. And so, if those two are willing to talk a little smack, then, man, I'll run with it.
Well, exactly. And so there's one, and Robert was very clear on the show. And so if it does happen, we'll have this to think about. Like, oh yeah, they were talking on the show, and and not so much Tasca, but Robert was very focused on Bob Tasca. Can't let him get out there too far. They've got a good team, wants to beat him at his home track. A little personal, not terrible. And if it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out. I was watching one of the stock shows, and they had the Vince McMahon's daughter. I forget her name, but she's high up in the WWE wrestling deal. And they were talking about like a worldwide business, like how many people, subscribers, millions and billions of dollars. And it's like the dollar signs are going through my head. And I remember how many times that, a drag racer has said, well, we don't want it to be wrestling. Like that's the thing that triggered in my head. And I'm like, no, maybe we do. Maybe we do. We want people talking and saying things. So when they come to the line, people are polarized for entertainment as opposed to polarized for real. Polarized for entertainment. Like you said, Greg and Erica, pick a side, root for someone, root against someone playfully. Don't do anything to their trailer. Don't do it. That's where you go off the deep end. But we can live in that world. And I think wrestling has done a good job, except our stuff is real. Now, one guy out there this weekend that I think it's kind of an interesting dynamic. Matt Hagan has won 3 of these deals in a row in New England. Hasn't been running so great. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see how that shakes out, where he comes back to a happy place for him, where he is the defending race winner 3 times in a row.
Yeah, and sometimes, that's all you need. Sometimes you just need to go someplace comfortable to kind of get you pointed back in the right direction. It's always fascinated me, unlike NASCAR, where you're going to a different track every week, right? And okay, there's a lot of mile and a half, but you might be on a short track, or you might be on a mile and a half, or you might be on a speedway, you might be on a road course. And I get it, right? Some guys are good at this and maybe not so good at that, or this is their wheelhouse, and drag race tracks are all the same. They're all flat, they're all straight, they're all the same length. So why is it that some people just have tremendous success at some racetracks? Why did Tony Schumacher win so many races at Indy? The racetrack at Indy is no different than the racetrack at Atlanta. It's flat, it's straight, it's the same distance. But Tony couldn't win in Atlanta, and for the longest time, he couldn't lose at Indy. And so when you go to a place like that where you've had success, I think it gets everybody's confidence a little bit higher. You've got obviously good notes to work with because you've had so much success there, and it just feels comfortable. I don't want to call it a home game, but it's almost what it feels like. If you've been someplace where you've been getting your butt kicked, and now you're coming back someplace that's always been kind to you, it kind of just turns your mind around a little bit. So, based on performance, no, Matt's car hasn't been running as well this year as it has in years past, or, the last 3 or 4 years anyway. But maybe all he needs is to come to a friendly place like this to get him going back in the right direction. If you won 3 races in a row at your local racetrack, you're going to feel confident when you pull in the gate again. And Matt's won 3 races in a row up there. He's going to feel confident when he pulls in the gate. Simple as that.
As simple as that. Like that's the cosmic side of any competition, which is, there's always a little magic, like the analytics guys in baseball, right? Like can be mostly right, but once everybody's doing analytics, at some point it goes back to the magic that you just can't control. And you go to a place that's happy for whatever reason that you don't understand, and you get happy again and you get back on top. We'll see this weekend with Matt Hagan. Now, a couple other teams that I've been thinking about, man, Wilkerson. If Wilkerson, you know what? I had some audio. I was watching NHRA.TV while I was sick. You may not know this. I don't know if I told you, but the past week after the show, I got a bad cold. And so I was just down, and I was watching a lot of NHRA.TV. And sometimes the track level microphones are picking up audio even when there's something else on the screen. And I heard Wilkerson giving Force a hard time. I think it was at Gainesville, maybe last year, maybe the 50th. And Wilkerson goes to Force something like this. Hey, old fella, they put your name on your car so you know which one to get in. And it was hysterical. I tried to grab the audio from somewhere. I don't know. But man, if Wilkerson could rip off a win or 2 in a row and be in that spotlight and be able to show that like working man, funny car driver, Tim Wilkerson character that he is in those final rounds for a couple of races, I really think it would change a dynamic out there. It would change the sport if Wilkerson could become like a weekly player for the win.
I think you look at the performance of his car and you look at what's he doing wrong. I mean,
yes.
He ends up making a great run next to a spectacular run, or he runs second, third, low ET of the round and gets beat by low ET of the round. And, or he'll have a great car and lose on a hole shot by 100th and a half. Or, I mean, it's just, I don't think he's doing anything wrong. He's just not getting results. And sometimes it's, the old classic Warren Johnson line. He said, I'd never dream of asking anybody for good luck. If you can just make the bad luck quit, I'll take it from there. And, Wilkerson, I think if he keeps doing what he's doing, he's going to be fine. But, you from any level of racing, right? If you're a bracket racer, you do this and this and this and you win. And you do this and this and this and you lose. You haven't done anything different. It's just, it's your day or it's your lucky minute or, however you want to write that up. But, the number of times when you go, okay, my goal here is I want to be about 15 on the tree and, I'm going to be too quick. So I'm going to play the game at the finish line. Okay. You might do that and win 6 races in a row. And then you start doing exactly the same thing and getting the wrong results. You come out 2 thou on the wrong side and there's just no way really to fix that. You just keep doing the right thing and fighting through it. And sooner or later, you got to believe it's going to come back your way. It usually does.
Yeah. And that's the thing about our sport, which, not that hitting a fastball is easy by any means, but to rise to the occasion in the moment on a regular basis, it's so hard to do. And then the people that do it, they seem to do it on a pretty regular basis. John Force, 152 times. Steve Torrance now on a regular basis. It's like amazing. The secret sauce that we don't know what it is, but they've got it. And it's clearly there's something, is it parts? Is it pieces? Is it people? What does a Wilkerson need? And I'm thinking about Cruz Pedregon. We've talked about Cruz on a regular basis. He has gone out and made a massive acquisition of a winning team. And everyone is just like, staring at him like, okay, when are you going to win? When are you going to win? I got to think that intense focus is something that is unavoidable, like is on their mind, like get the monkey off their back and break through and win a race somewhere.
I agree. And I think that, I think they will. I think it's just, you're only going to have one funny car winner every week. And last year, that was DSR every time. This year it hasn't been DSR yet. So the field has opened up a little bit, but it's still, we only get one every week or every couple of weeks. And you make one little mistake and you're done. I love NASCAR and I'm certainly not slamming them, but in NASCAR, if you screw something up 10 laps into the race, you can come back from that. With us, you make a mistake first round, see you next week. Your race is over. And so that's one of the things that I've always just really enjoyed about NHRA drag racing is every run is sudden death. If you don't perform right now, your game is over. There's no, drop back and punt. There's no, take a 10-yard penalty and try again. If you screw this up, you're done, period. And, that intensity is what makes NHRA fun for me.
And Alexis DeJoria, Bob Tasca final round would certainly be interesting for the fans out there. Alexis has been running well. Dell has got that. We got to remember that's a relatively new operation, and their maiden year last year was kind of truncated, obviously, by the pandemic. But Dell and Nikki seem to have something going on over there. The car's getting better and better and better. A breakthrough win for Alexis would be, I think, very popular and well needed. And that's all we need. Like, wouldn't it be great if we could rip off a couple of first-time winners this season with a Wilk, a Cruz, and an Alexis? That would put the sport in a totally different position in 3 races, but they got to perform. Like, what could happen versus what will happen, like Matt Hagan winning his 4th in a row, right? Like, you just don't know.
Well, right now, Bob Tasca's got a great race car, and he is driving with a lot of confidence, and that's difficult. Robert Hyde has got a great race car. John Force got a pretty darn good race car. Cruz Pedregon's got a pretty darn good race car. Tim Wilkerson's got a pretty darn good race car. So there's plenty of them out there that I don't think would surprise anybody if they step up and get the win, whether it's this week or whether it's Norwalk or when we go out west. There's plenty of good cars out there right now. In Top Fuel, somebody's got to prove they can beat Steve Torrance on a regular basis. Nobody's done that. And in Funny Car, Bob Tasca certainly looks like he's got the best car, but he doesn't look like in my eyes anyway, he doesn't have as big a gap on the field as does Steve Torrance over there in the Top Fuel field. Right now, those guys just got it all going on.
Right, exactly. And one of our viewers points out, but sometimes it's all magic, right? Like when Gianna won the finals, like sometimes it's all magic. This sport is so crazy, you just don't know. And that's why you got to show up. Now, got to mention the car counts. It's just part of life, right? Up there's a million reasons. I think it's 12 and 14 or some odd cars, at least as of last I checked. We were talking a little bit about the ladders and the positioning of the buy runs and what's best for the sport and all of that. 12 car ladder. I don't even, off the top of my head, I don't know what that looks like, but people want to know why. I think that it's obviously complicated to get there, is a bit of a challenge, but I really wish some of the teams would have invested in these New England fans a little bit more. I don't want to tell them how to spend their money, but these are diehard race fans. And yeah, there's a balance between pay and cost and complication. And the complication number on this algorithm is high. It's a challenge to get up there. But boy, these fans in New England, man, they love it. They love us. They love drag racing. They've put so much into it. Man, that number was a little bit of a bummer for me.
And, I don't know what the answer is to that either. There are some, maybe that market's not important to the people that support, your car. Maybe they just don't do a lot of business in New England. They don't, there's not a lot of reason for you to go up there. I don't know. A 12-car ladder, the good side of that is that means only one buy run all day. Yes, there will be less pairs of cars that go down the track than there would be with 16. But there's still only one buy run that's going to take place all day. So hopefully the ones that'll go up there will put on a great show for the fans. That's the most important thing.
Yes, well, exactly. And we have to, we deal with what you get. You say it all the time. The race is about the people who are there and not the people who aren't there. And I know it's, we're back in that thing, right? Like, oh, it's tough times. You either you want to put on a show for a packed house, which I'm pretty confident the fans are going to show up for this one, or not. And, there's great history at this place. Like, Bobby Lagana has won this race a couple of times back in the IHRA days. Clay Milliken won 3 times in a row here, like before it became an NHRA facility, and they invested, some money and got the track up to snuff. And a lot of people thought that this race wasn't even possible. And NHRA went through a lot of kind of, I don't want to say changes, but they made it happen at this facility. And I feel like it's been rewarded. It's been a great race, and it's got that old time feel.
It's a great part of the country. And, it's a market that we hadn't been in, we being NHRA, they had some degrees, but not us. And so, no, it was definitely a coup when we were able to get up there and run. And the first year, the fans just overran the place. The last couple of years have been down a little bit. I got to believe this year, though, with everybody just wanting to get out of the house, and because we weren't there last year, and because they're allowed 100% capacity, that there's going to be a whole lot of New England race fans up there. What we need to do is go out and impress them. We put on a show for them.
Well, exactly. And going to have Torrance on tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern time. But then on Thursday, we're going to have Mr. New England, Brian Loans, at 12 noon, everybody. It's going to be Lunch with Loans at 12 noon on Thursday, and I'll pepper him with all kinds of New England-based questions, like where can I get the best lobster roll? Now, Mikey says, he goes, why not run an 8-car field then? And I think that for Mikey, that's a terrible, there's no bad questions, but that's a terrible question. You got 12 cars, and you want to send four home? Like, why would you do that?
Don't punish the ones that show up.
Right.
Yeah. You don't punish the ones that showed up.
Hey, great. We had 12 of you show up, so let's make it so 4 of you that did show up can't race like that. I think that's a disincentive. Like I wouldn't want to do that kind of thing.
No, and we wouldn't.
And you're going to get guys. Buddy Hull is going to be out there making his second start, start. Joe Morrison. There are guys that they have an opportunity. Who knows what will happen on the as the ladder plays out? But I can tell you, based on the past couple of years, Steve Torrance is going to happen. And the 2018-2019 winner, we didn't go there last year. And as I mentioned, for Bobby and Dom, this is a very important racetrack. Now that Englishtown is gone, this is home.
It sure is. I keep waiting for Leah to have a breakout weekend. You look at what she's done in qualifying, and then just the fact that she's been snakebit on Sunday. But that's a really good race car. It'll be the first time in a couple of years that she's been here, because for those of you that don't have a long memory, they sat out this race in 19. They didn't have sponsorship for this event, and so they didn't come here. And then, of course, last year, nobody came here. So it's been a while. But I think that, that's a car that's looking to break out. I think Doug Coletta's car is looking to break out. I think that, there's still a lot going on. Steve is absolutely positively the man to beat, but there's a lot of other ones out there. It's like, when are they going to wake up? Brittany Force got a great car right now, but nobody's figured out the magical formula to get in front of the Capco boys. That's what everybody's working on.
Someone should offer a bounty. That Constant Aviation offered a bounty on the winner in Factory Stock Showdown, and how much fun was that, right? Like, we need somebody with well-heeled person, someone with deep pockets, not me, maybe you, but probably not you either. Someone with deep pockets.
Do you really think that anybody needs more incentive to go out and beat Thornton? Do you think that if they're, you said, okay, let's put $10,000 up for anybody that could be, do you think somebody's going to go, okay, now we're going to try really hard? I mean, come on.
No, I know. That's it. It's just, this guy's on a roll, man. The Capco boys are rolling and no one can stop it. And it's like, it's taking the souls of these other teams. It's like taking the spirit out of them.
Yeah. If you're a Capco fan, you're loving every minute of it. And if you're not a Capco fan, you should enjoy watching them make history, because that's what's happening.
Exactly, it is. Now, Pro Stock, on the other hand, there will be a full field of Pro Stockers, it appears. And going to be very interesting. Pro Stock, very Northeastern kind of thing, very popular up there. Hartford coming in as the most recent race winner. We got Michael Heiner out there somewhere watching the show. I found that to be a very interesting final round down there in Houston, because they're both KB customer cars, right? And they battled each other in the final round, and that's what you want to see. That the money that you're spending to rent some power is so good that you can go win the race. Well, they ran each other in the final round. I know the elite guys feel the way about the power that they rent, those that rent elite power. Bruno had some good success, and Aaron Strong had some good success. And so Pro Stock is, from the depths of despair 5 years ago to a very healthy category for what it is right now.
And every time an engine customer wins a race, that's good for the whole class. As much as Greg wants to tie Warren, and as much as, Erica wants to win more, but when Matt Hartford wins, when Derek Kramer's in the final, when Vincent Nobile goes to the final in Atlanta, when that just is proof to anybody out there that's thinking about it, that yes, you literally can rent enough to go out and win and be competitive. And there was a time when that certainly just wasn't the case. When the people that were leasing engines would lease you their third or fourth best engine. They wouldn't lease you one that was just as good as the one that they had. They certainly wouldn't take the one out of their car and lease it to you. But every time a customer goes out there and wins, I'm hoping that somebody who's spending a bunch of money to go run Top Sportsman, or somebody who's got, just one of those really fast bracket cars, goes, you know what? I always wanted to try that. Let's try it. But and again, back in the day, you could lease engines that would qualify, but to have a lease customer win a race was really rare. Now it's just regular. It's like business as usual. And the fact that you can lease a motor from Elite and go out there and outrun Erica with it. You can lease a motor from KB and go out there and outrun Greg with it. So they will give you enough to beat them if you can put the rest of the equation together. Or if you just want to fly in with a helmet, you can certainly do that too.
Putting the rest of the equation there, both of those teams that we referenced, Hartford, they've got a really good team with Eddie and Matt doing the tune and everything. He's a sharp guy. And so the hard part is those hard parts. And once they have that, they can turn it into something. And I'll be interesting. Someone mentioning that the Quadras not being on the entry list. There's 17 pro stockers. So, Gaydosh is back. Bob Benza is back. It's going to be interesting to see how that all works. Alan Przinski, a Northeastern racer, trying to get it going. But no Quadras. And I don't know why they're sitting out. Maybe we can try to find out here during the show. But Frank Iaconio, speaking of Northeastern racers and pro stock, I would love to see him have a shot at something in his region, but they're not on the entry list. And we're missing them. The Mustangs aren't going to be there.
Yeah, and I don't know why either. It surprised me a little bit when I looked the other day and didn't see their name on the list. So I don't know. I don't know if Fernando has business commitments. If he's got I just have no idea.
Okay, well, exactly. And just a bit of a bummer, but again, that's these teams make their schedules. They're not all obligated to be anywhere. And they made the decision like, hey, maybe we're going to stay home and try to find power as opposed to go up there, or who knows. But maybe we'll reach out during the show and find out, or someone who knows. And if it's our business, because sometimes it's not our business, right, Alan? Like that's another element to it. Like you said, business obligations, like who knows what's going on in people's lives that make them decide, hey, I can't go to this race. Sometimes it's personal.
Maybe they're having lunch to see about buying a racetrack.
Maybe. There it is. Do it. Do it, Fernando. Fernando could buy PBIR and turn it into something. Now, I'm excited as I am about the Camping World Series. I was looking a little bit at the super stock entry lists, and just like what a snake pit it's going to be with the Warner Brothers number 1 and 2, and Santangelo, and just everybody up there that are killers in stock and super stock battling it out for these Wallies. It's going to be great racing.
Yeah, that's a tough part of the country for stock and super stock racing. Division One has always been a very difficult place to go up there and win. And so when it's time to race for the big Wallies, that's even better. It's just a fun place to go.
Yes, exactly. Any other thoughts, final thoughts, things that are on your mind about this weekend's race that we need to get ready for or keep in our mind as the race unfolds, whether in person or on NHRA.tv?
No, just, it looks like the weather's going to be promising. It looks like the temperatures are going to be cool. And I guess there's a slight chance of some rain on Friday was the last time I looked. But Saturday and Sunday are supposed to be like, high 60s, low 70s. That place will be plenty fast out there. I expect most of the track records to fall. And, Friday night should be just like mine shaft, hold my beer and watch this type of racing.
Awesome. Yeah, I get in on Friday, coming straight to the track up from Beantown. It's going to be great. I'm just excited to go back racing and, get the flow going. Norwalk is next. That's going to be very exciting as well. But it's June already, Alan. I don't know if you feel like the year's going by quickly like I do. Other people think it's going by slowly, but we got a lot of racing yet to do as we start the month of June.
Well, for me, being back in the routine makes it better. I was in Lebanon Valley or in Maple Grove last week, and I posted on Twitter. I opened my American app the other day, and it came up and said, "You have 9 upcoming trips." And I went, that sounds so good to hear. And so that's, for me, that makes the calendar go when I'm like going and going and going, come home, swap suitcases, go again. And, I'm all for that because I'm not very good at doing nothing, and I don't really have a whole lot of stuff going on in the shop right now. So being on the road is a good thing for me because it keeps me from going out and, doing something stupid like buying a rickshaw or a hearse.
Exactly. So audience out there, what was your favorite part of the Alan Reinhart interview today? Just wondering. Just kidding. Alan, great job as usual. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Yeah, these race week interviews are awesome because they just, they get me excited. And I'm thinking about what might happen. Will someone knock the Capco team off the top? Can Forrest go out there, get another win? What are we going to see in the final rounds? And we will know by this time next week. It will be great. I appreciate you. Thank you for coming on the show.
Always a pleasure, Joe. I will look forward to seeing you this weekend. Travel safe, and I guess I'll see you Friday afternoon.
Sounds great. I'll be there. That is my plan. Thank you, Alan.
See ya.
There he goes, Alan Reinhart, the voice of the NHRA, with us here on WFO Radio. And a lot of fun conversation. I mentioned that I was sick, like I had a cold, right? And I'm still not 100% over it, but I'm definitely way better. I'm 90% back. We had a 2-hour-long Ignition podcast yesterday. We talked about everything that happened, whether it be Elio Castroneves winning his 4th Indy 500 or Jeff Bezos launching himself into space. Like, we were all over hundreds of different topics. The big Julio Jones trade, all of it was all over the place. Just pent up energy. It was great. Hey, Michael Heiner's out there. Thanks again, fellas. Thank you, Michael Heiner. Appreciate you. And, Michael Heiner made the final round last week. Like, when you guys win, you're going to be expected to be on the show. And when Hartford came on the show, he wanted Michael to be on with him to talk about preparing for the final round. But Michael was flying or something, traveling, life of celebrity crew chief. So was unable to join us. But put your comments in the comment section. Thoughts on the race, who you think is going to win the race. Maybe give me some picks. What you think for the TascaParts.com New England Nationals presented by Bandero Premium Tequila. Will there be Bandero Premium Tequila at the race? This is a good question. You know, I love sponsorships, but it's also about the experience. And I think it would be very good for everybody to be able to relate, like a relatable experience that is connected to the Bandero Premium Tequila. Just saying, just a thought that I'm having. Before I get to the comments and final comments from everybody, your thoughts on winning the race and what's going on this weekend, etc., I do want to shout out to our sponsors talking about Total Seal Piston Ring, Matt Hartford. Congratulations on 2 years, Matt. That whole team over there, Keith Jones, everybody. Here's the deal. Cars and car hobby is fun. Build yourself an engine. Build yourself a car. That is so much fun and a great project. Of course, if you have the means. If you're going to build an engine, start with Total Seal. What do you want to do with this thing? What are your goals? What do you want to accomplish? And they'll put you on the right path. Not to mention, they've got relationships with machine shops all over the country. That's part of what Hidden Horsepower is all about. The people that they deal with, you know, not all machine shops are the same, right? So if you're looking for a good, qualified, quality machine shop to work on your stuff, believe it or not, Total Seal is a good place to call. You know, who's got the most updated equipment? Who's got the state-of-the-art stuff? Who knows how to use it? These are all questions that come up on a regular basis on the Hidden Horsepower podcast. But congratulations to Hartford and Keith and Lake and the whole team over there. Amber, everybody that has been involved in that acquisition a couple of years ago. I know it was a leap of faith, a bet on themselves, to be followed by a worldwide international health crisis. And, you know, they're navigating through it. And they're winning races, and they're, I think, doing a great job. And they're supporting WFO, which makes it even more worthwhile. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Total Seal. And Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School. Frank and Lana, been doing it for a long time. And what they do is they give people the experience to drive a dragster who have never driven a dragster. Well, I drove a Mustang back in the day. It was super fast. Or I have a Ferrari, and I don't really care. It's not the same. It's not the same. Driving a dragster with a big block Chevrolet sitting behind the roll cage, the way it launches, the way it leaves, it's a different and more fun experience. And you should do it. FrankHawley.com. Tell them you heard about it on WFO Radio, definitely. Samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Brian Massengill, Linda Judson. Didn't get to see Brian down in Houston. It was one of the major bummers that related there because they did not run stock and super stock, and so they stayed at the school. But here's the deal. Machinists, the same thing I said about machine shops. Machinists are not all the same. Which ones started off with a great education? Which ones started off with the right learning and the right methodology? And which ones kind of figured it out along the way? Samtech.edu can help you get started. And not only that, but they can help you get placed in a job, a profession, in a career with someone that's reliable, that they're connected to, whether it be a race team or like look at Stanfield and look at Barton. Those are all Samtech grads. I know that Keith Wilson at Wilson Manifolds has told me he's got Samtech grads. That's where he calls because he knows he's going to get someone that's at least worth something. Samtech.edu. And if any of our listeners end up going on a career that route, you better let me know. Like, come on now. Absolutely. And then Marvin Rodak, I don't want to call it a totally frivolous situation, but it's about living good life. Great coffee, great barbecue, hot sauce, spice rub, recipes, the best tools and tips. Go to the website, rodaxcoffeeandgrills.com. You can navigate to anywhere through our WFO Radio website, definitely. And I start every day with Marvin Rodak. And he said early on in the show, I didn't want to feel like I was pushing on Reinhart too much about drinking coffee, but Marvin thinks he can get him up to speed on the coffee. And that's the deal. Like anybody that I know that has tried the Rodax, listen, it's not the cheapest stuff, guys. It's not Folgers crystals. No offense, Folgers. But this is next level stuff. And the experience, the Rodax experience there's nothing like it. It shows up at your house. You open the box. You're hit in the face with this aroma of coffee. It's amazing. You can get it full bean or fully ground. I get it full bean. Full bean is the way to go. You got to buy a grinder. You're grinding. You're like this, mad scientist making your coffee elixir. It's awesome. I also want to say thanks to our friends at Nitro Fish, where you can get the 10th anniversary WFO Radio t-shirt. Get it at the track. Go to the booth. Get it at the track. That's part of the WFO experience. And in the store on our website, you can get WFO polos like this. I don't think I've posted these yet. I'm trying to get you guys amped up so that when people order, they order. The WFO side logo hats, though, are there. Get those. Order some hats. Get going. And face coverings, etc., and so on. And there you go. And also free stickers, how to get some free WFO radio stickers. I haven't sent out some free stickers in a while. You people really don't want free stickers from WFO? No, that's not that. Just they know they can get them from me at the track. P.O. Box 848-353, Pembroke Pines, Florida, 33084, care of WFO Radio Stickers, Castello Media. Tomorrow, Tuesday, is today. Tomorrow is Wednesday, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Steve Torrance going to be on the show. Going to talk about the big Houston win. You might have noticed how we're spacing out our race winners now a little bit more. We're going to do a Facebook page takeover for Steve. And so we're going to be broadcasting on Steve's page in addition to the WFO page. So the WFO numbers will go down, but the new exposures of WFO to Torrance fans will go up. And that will be interesting to see what kind of interesting stories, questions, etc. the Capco fans have. And I'm going to talk with Steve about Gary and Bunny's car. And I think like this is the story about Gary Pritchett. Gary Pritchett's been doing the clutch on Steve's car forever, all the way back. And that Gary was one of Bunny's boys, one of the guys that Bunny Burkett pretty much mentored in the sport. And the idea, like, first of all, what an awesome car that is. Let's just take a second as a nostalgia alcohol funny car. And honestly, there's something to that. Maybe all alcohol funny cars should have nostalgia bodies. Just saying. You know, alcohol funny car is an awesome category that I love greatly, but why is there not enough participation, especially you think about the Northeast and how popular they are? Maybe, sorry to the guy who invented the new Camaro aerodynamic body. I'm sorry. Okay? You got a great product out there, and every car has got one for the most part, except for people who have yet to buy them. But look at this thing, man. What if you had all the modern running hardware and you had nostalgia-style bodies and alcohol funny car? Just thinking out loud here, folks. I did not invent this. This is something that just kind of came up. And you go down here, Nitro Joe Morrison. Look at that. These are Alky cars, but with nostalgia bodies. That's a 78 Trans Am, 77, 78 Trans Am. Wait a second now. A way to kind of bring it together, generate a little more interest, have a little flair, a little flavor, a little something, a little throwback, a little different. Yeah, I know I'm costing people money. Oh, man, we just paid a lot of money for that Camaro body. It was $15 million. Yeah, I know. But I don't know, man. I think that there's something there. Or maybe not. So tomorrow, Steve Torrance, social media takeover. Then noon on Thursday, lunch with loans. Say that a few times. All right, let's see what everybody's got to say. Capco boys, yes, definitely. Love the Polo. Love the Polo, right? I don't know about doing this fulfillment biz anymore. Everybody, you know, all the different sizes and stuff. We're going to work on it, though. Let's see. I'm going with Justin Ashley for Top Fuel, Blake Alexander for Funny Car, underdog picks, but usually in the NHRA, the unthinkable happens. Well, does it, though? Matt Hagan wins 3 in a row. Steve Torrance wins the last 2 in a row. Let's hope for some unpredictable. That's what the sport needs. The sport really needs Tim Wilkerson to win 2 races. The sport really needs Cruz Pedregon to win 2 races. The sport really needs these things to happen. These fan bases that have been cultivated for years to have a chance to break through and enjoy and win, and their driver to get up there and be themselves and personable and colorful and win. But only one person can win. And it's always Matt Hagan. Let's see. Mikey says, Tasca, Clay, Hartford. Clay would be a very popular win. There's another one. Clay. Fast car. And it's got such a rich history up there in New England. I think he won 3 in a row. in the early 2000s. Was it like 03, 04, 05, something like that? And Bobby Lagana won 06 and 07. In 06, he beat the Greek. How great is that? Rich, can you please take down the Yankee flag? You know, there have been times recently where I've thought about taking down the Yankee flag, except no, I haven't. All right. You should be happy, Rich, that they're not playing well and that I'm not in your grill about it. Like the Yankees winning left and right. No, we're in a troubling time right now in the Yankee universe. We're in a troubling time. And, but I will always fly the flag, that 1998 team, pretty much the best team in the history of baseball. And, yeah, so Yankee fans unite. Great show. Alan dropping the bomb was priceless. Yeah, I feel bad about that. I mean, I don't care. This is WFO, where F stands for fast. Missed the Ignition show last night. Better go check it out. Yeah, it was 2.5 hours. Hey, Colton Jordan. Where you been, Colton? If you're in the Midwest part of the country and you want to see some good drag racing, the ADRL will be at Worldwide Technology Raceway in St. Louis. Pro Extreme and Extreme Pro Stock. Yes. Support your drag strips, people. And I'm going to end off on that note. Thanks as always, says Jeff. Jeff, I'm not telling people about the thing you told me to tell them about because I am not yet booked. Sorry. Yeah, Mikey, say what's up. The track is small enough that anybody that wants to see me should be able to see me. Fun show today. Thank you. Yeah, very fun. Blake, what's up, Blake? How about me getting loans? Yeah, Blake's programming the show right now. Blake said somewhere on text or tweet or anything like, hey, could you get loans? Yes, just like that for you, Blake. That's right. And we got Maddie out there too. Maddie, do you see your sticker? Where's your sticker? That's the other way. Look, Maddie's got her sticker up. We got some great listeners out there. They're sharing the show. They're telling the world about WFO. Our audience is growing. It's great. Mom wasn't going to go to Norwalk. She's been listening to WFO radio with me. You've been encouraging people to support their local tracks. And she called Norwalk and was able to get a ticket for the Nationals. Way to go, Blake. We roped in your ma. Exactly. Look, folks, you know the story about my home track. And Alan did a really good job of convincing us that nothing is real. Nothing is real. Except some things are real. And I found out this rumor, and I have been very, very positive to state it as a rumor because I don't want to be responsible for revealing information that's not my business to reveal. I'm very sensitive about that. As much as we're a show and we're journalists and we have the right, we're more entertainers. And I want everybody to be happy and not mess anybody's business up. But I was kind of wondering when the local racing community would get wind of this rumor and start thinking about what it means to not have a drag strip. What does it mean to not have a drag strip, ATCO? What does it mean to not have a drag strip, South Florida? What does it mean to not have a drag strip? Well, it means that all your engine builders are going to either A, move, like ours did from South Florida, your chassis builders, it becomes a desert, a motorsports desert. That's not good. If you've got a track, you should really support it. And if you own a track, you should really try. Because a lot of track operators aren't even trying. I know there's all kinds of stories, and, we can do this about, the margins are so slim, and they definitely have a very challenging thing. Outdoor entertainment, rain, weather, there's a lot going on. But, how many racetracks are going to be purchased to be junkyards? Why racetracks? Why are drag strips are always going to be, junkyards? Yeah, it's working. We're going to park the junk cars on the drag strip. It'll be perfect. A nice strip for a bunch of junk cars. Like, at what point does the drag racing community do some math and say, without places to race, there will be no racing? Or more importantly, local communities say, no, what will happen is people will continue to race and it will be a danger to the public. And then you can choose to spend thousands of dollars on enforcement and put people in jail and take their cars, or you can encourage it. Isn't this a lesson we learned in the 1950s? Didn't we learn this lesson once before already, that you must have places to race? All right. So earlier I told you about a couple more comments. Here we go. Josh Hart. There you go. Who do you have winning Top Fuel or Funny Car? Well, I haven't really made any predictions, but since you have asked me, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that this is the weekend that Cruz Pedregon, JC and Ryan and those guys over there get the job done. It's going to be a big Cruz Pedregon weekend. You heard it here first, right? Top Fuel. How do you pick against Steve Torrance? Steve Torrance always. Steve Torrance always until somebody beats him 2 races in a row. That's, to me, the smart money. Nostalgia Bodies would be awesome and might gain spectator interest in the class. Yeah, do something. Set the rule for a couple years out. Like, all right, y'all, we're going to do something different in 2 years. So use your stuff. And we're going to try to do something to bring this category back because Alcohol Funny Car is awesome. Cindy says Ron Capps is going to win. That's never a bad bet. Never take down that flag. Don't worry, Monica. Even in times of strife, we will keep the Yankee flag flying. I live in New Hampshire. Don't take down the Yankee flag. No, don't worry, Mikey. We got you. Yeah, see, that's right. You guys don't realize how big the Yankee universe is. There's a big cross-pollination with drag racing fans and the Yankee universe. Mason McGahey, the Laganas, like there's a lot of Yankee fandom out there because greatness is what it's about. Santino, what's up, brother? Looking forward to seeing everyone in Epping. Safe travels. Jim says, how about the Street Outlaws No Prep Kings race at National Trail last weekend was the biggest crowd there since the Spring Nationals was held there. I'm sure. And those No Prep Kings are coming to South Florida at Palm Beach in mid-June. And I believe I have an off weekend, and I think I'm going to go check it out. I got someone to go hang out with and get a little behind the scenes and see it firsthand because, it's hard to see. I'm not going to get on a plane and fly to one of those races, but when they come to my town and I'm off, I'm going to go and I'm going to check it out and I'll have a full report for you. Also, everybody remember when Flying Ryan Ayler challenged me to a race on this show? Well, a date has been set. I'm not going to give you any more than that, but a date has been set for the challenge. And we'll probably do it behind the scenes, and then I'll release it. Flying Ryan. Blake from Ohio says, thank you, Joe, for having loans on. Yeah, I think I read that already. Tom says, hello from Jonesville, South Carolina. Come on, Tom. Joe, what's your favorite ice cream flavor? In Norwalk, it's the Moose Tracks. Moose Tracks. All the way, baby. They got those little caramel chocolate Rolo type things in them. Ooh, boy. And I learned. Hey, it's you, Kev. Hi, Joe. Where's the dragster? Bang. You, Kev. How about that? And I got the Santa Pod shirt ready to break out whenever the time is right. Thank you so much for sending this and representing all drag racing fans, not in New England, in Old England. That's right. Drag racing is big. We're going to New England this weekend, but the folks in Old England, or just England, are going WFO. So how about all drag racing fans in the UK share the show right now so your friends can watch and enjoy it. Way to go, you, Kev. Been mad busy. Purchased my first home. Been listening on Apple Podcasts. Great way to listen. Audio only, everybody. Audio only. You don't have to watch us. We're not that attractive. Cruz, my mom will love that. That's what I'm telling you. Robert says J.R. Todd. J.R. Todd. After the big Kyle Larson back-to-back. People should be fighting to be on this show, by the way. It's obviously good luck. Honestly, not a fan of the 8th mile stuff, especially not showing the times. I would not choose 8th mile, but a lot of people would. I think it's a bad move, but we've lost the fight, dude. We've lost the fight. NHRA, quarter mile stuff, the real estate, the property, all of that. We want to save our stuff. We need drag strips to be saved of all kinds, whatever they are, and whatever keeps them in business. And I'm not showing a time. I don't care about that. I want to see a different program. In fact, at Palm Beach this past weekend was All Out Live. I almost got invited to announce that thing. It didn't work out. But a different spin. Whatever. To keep them involved. Whatever. Jeff Bonfield, nice job. Kev, yeah, thank you, Kev, for sending me stuff. Moose Tracks, save room for ice cream in Norwalk, my tree. I got you, Blake, or reversed. All right, so here's the deal. One last thing. I was watching NHRA.TV, Yeah, this has gone. Boy, I have a poker show at 3:00. Oh boy. Anyway, and happy anniversary to Dean and Kelly Antonelli, by the way, 22 years, pretty amazing. So I was listening to unapproved off-track audio, and I told you about Wilkerson and Force, and I've actually found that audio track, and so I'm going to play it just so you can listen. Let's see how it goes. You're just listening to audio, and you're going to hear Wilkerson's true personality attack 16-time champion John Force for being old. And Wilkerson is also old. Like, everybody's old. We're all old, but it's kind of fun when old people attack other old people about being old, right? Because we're still doing it, baby. Listen to this.
Kids logo.
It's Reinhart.
On the side of her machine. Of course, that is an organization that she's gotten involved.
This is unedited, and so I would have loved to have edited it during the show, but it didn't work out. I'm playing it raw. Just deal with it.
With Stan and Sheila Holt, giving back a little something to the community. First pair.
This is during unfinished business at the 50th Gator Nationals. And keep listening. The first thing you'll hear is Force.
Lined up in the water box.
And you'll also hear my new air fryer in the background.
And I think we're ready.
I'm working for him now. I don't know what happened. They put your name on your car, old fellow, so you know which one to get in? No, I still couldn't call me. Good to see you, man.
Charlotte.
Wilk, baby, Wilk. They put your name on your car, old fella, so you know which one to get in. And Caps is there, because you know their voices, right? Like, Caps is there laughing. It's funny. Wilkerson. And that whole bit that he did with the wrestling, with Stevie Ray, arm wrestling, it was just great stuff. The Yankees incursion will not stand. Come on, Red Sox Nation. Listen, Gene, you guys just swept us in Yankee Stadium. There's, there's supposed to be like a gentleman's agreement in the world. Like, when someone is down, you don't like kick them in the face, right? Like, they've had enough. You guys had a good weekend. Just take your victory and move on. That's what I say. But I'm getting amped up. Like, Loans is lucky. The attacks will not happen this weekend. I don't feel too confident, Yankee fans, honestly. I'm certainly hoping for a turnaround. But normally I can kind of tell when there's something there. I don't know. I'm not feeling it. Oh, well. Thanks to Alan Reinhart for coming on the show. Remember, tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern time, like right around now, 2 p.m. Eastern time, we'll have Steve Torrance. We're going to do a Steve Torrance Facebook page takeover. We're going to be on his page talking about stuff, see what Steve's going to bring to the table. It's going to be great. And then Thursday, 12 noon, lunch with Loans. Hey, how about that Brett Kepner interview? You guys really listened to the audio of the Brett Kepner interview. It's a mystery why some shows are huge on the podcast and others are, huge on video. And Brett Kepner was huge on the podcast. Subscribe, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Shout out to everybody who has been supporting the show. And remember, just like you need to support your local drag strip, we encourage you to support your local drag racing show on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and everybody out there. Big thanks to Joe Morrison for some of these shots. Screaming Eagle, way to go, Nitro Joe. And Bob Zelag for these shots of Gary. What a cool deal that was. The best drag show that I've been, like old school drag show that I've been to, was at US 131 in Martin, Michigan. Like Saturday night of fire drag show. And I know I got to go to Norwalk, and I will at some point. I will. But keep them alive. Support your local drag strips. Save our drag strips. Let's do something. If you got an idea, email me, joe@wforadio.com. See you tomorrow, 2 p.m. Steve Torrance.